I'm Jason Wynne. I am 45 now. Set PFS up just over 14 years ago now. Worked in the shipping industry since I was sort of 17 and a half. Worked for a few companies, and then the opportunity arose to take a decision to commence alone, which albeit fairly daunting, was one I kind of embraced. Massive risk for us, so money was tight really. If I'd have failed, would have had trouble paying a mortgage. So it was a huge risk really. But the business plan was kind of built around four key clients supporting me, and it is one of a big client at that time who'd kind of sowed the seed really with regards to suggesting, you're good at what you do, Jason. Why don't you do it yourself? Not one huge and specific one. Many different ones really. Two kids rapidly grown up, wanting to spend more time with them. My son's 13 next week. My daughter was 11 in August. In reality, probably a couple of years too late in making that decision, because as they reach 11, 12, 13, they do accelerate once they start going to high school. They start getting away from you a little bit, if you know what I mean. And I now pick him up from school a couple of times a week and take him football training. I go and watch him play on a Wednesday afternoon, rugby, football, hockey, all of those sorts of things. So I was wanting to release more time, free up more time to do those sorts of things. Lots of considerations in the main. And also, when's the right time? We'd had two buoyant years in the sector, done very, very well. So looking at the business with regards to its kind of prior 2-3 year trading history, how we'd grown, how well we'd done, was it a good time to cash in, so to speak? Yeah, sort of 12 years later, it was a case of reevaluating, deciding what I wanted to do. Now I was, approaching sort of 44, 45. The business had grown to sort of 20, 25 people, whereas it's just myself, as I say, at my desk in my lounge when the company was incorporated. And obviously that's when we became acquainted with Kingsbrook, having looked at a few other brokers as well. I think it might even have been the video I watched of yourself back in, where are we, 2023 now. I think it was approaching Christmas 2021. And yeah, making that decision to sell kind of the baby you'd nurtured from all those years ago was a very tough one. Well, yes, we did know the buyer actually, and we already done business with the buyer, so they were a supplier of ours for some European road freight. Not a huge supplier, but a supplier nonetheless. And it was a very interesting process because obviously when we went to market, Kingsbrook obviously undertook the process. 3 months of preparation and targeting which firms to reach out to, and we had a lot of interest, which was fantastic. A lot of interest from different companies, some I'd heard of, some I hadn't heard of, some very big firms, some smaller forwarders, and the final successful company, I should say, who acquired us. Yeah, we'd already worked with them, so we knew of them. Didn't know really any of the key personnel at the higher end, but yeah. So we had done business with them. I think it was 15 interested parties came to meetings, which was wonderful. I think, when we're talking with all concerned at Kingsbrook, they're delighted with the response in that regard, that first response. 15 parties we all had meetings with, and I think there was some serious interest and offers from 3 in the end. So yeah, there was a competitive element to it, albeit obviously the successful acquirer, what they put in place was a little bit more attractive. So take your time and make sure that you're entering that thought process as early as you can. The process itself takes, I think for us, it was a good 15 to 18 months. I think I signed the contract to proceed with Kingsbrook early in the January, I believe, and the sale concluded sort of 31st of March the following year. So it takes time. It's a difficult decision. It needs a lot of thought. You need to put yourself in a lot of scenarios. So I think the main piece of advice I'd give to a younger self, or anyone else, would be start thinking about it as early as you can, because it takes time to come to fruition, and you need time to mull over all of the elements involved. It's a good question. I'll talk about preparation, but as much as you prepare, when you get close to that, to D-Day, it's still a very, very hard thing to do when you've put your heart and soul into building a business. You've worked 16, 18-hour days, weekends. You've had, obviously, triumphs and tribulations aplenty. It's very difficult to still, you know, make it over the top of that hill, really. So that was quite difficult. Obviously, there's not an awful lot of work goes into it, preparing for due diligence. So when you're compiling information to go into what everyone in this process calls a data room, that's a lot of work. So you need to be prepared to spend an awful lot of time on it. I really enjoyed the meetings, days in the diary, right? We're going to have 3 meetings on this day, we're going to have 4 meetings a day after. So I really enjoyed those. I thought it was very interesting. I learned a lot. So I did enjoy that part of the process. Obviously, the negotiation phase as well was something that's quite fascinating. So. Yeah, brilliant, actually. And I was pleased with the decision we made. So we were speaking to a few firms, and you try to do a little bit of due diligence on all of them. You try and speak to people who've dealt with them. So your website's full of testimonials, it's full of historical deal data. You're very willing to part with contact information of prior clients. So I spoke to a few prior clients about Kingsbrook. Obviously, spoke to them about other firms as well. Looked into other firms, charging structures, fees, etc. But it's not all about the cost. It has to feel right. I myself took a visit down to Kingsbrook offices, met with the directors, met with the lead who I'd be working with, Andy Hunt, and struck up a decent rapport. And yeah, I think the team throughout. So obviously, there's many different people. Emma Ashley, who was very integral to it, and Andy Hunt were very helpful. And you form a relationship where you know that you can pick the phone up and speak at any time. And there'll be many periods, in that 18-month, say, process where you'll need to do that. So, yeah, very, very complimentary of everyone involved. Yes, I would. I would recommend, and I'd be welcome, as a fair few others welcomed a phone call from me to discuss their experience with Kingsbrook. I'd welcome the same. That's no problem at all. The team worked hard. They provided as much support as possible. Andy Hunt was marvellous and was present in all meetings. So yeah, wholeheartedly, I was very, very happy.